I was taught over the years, you be a good girl and you'll get everything you want in life. You be a good girl. You keep your legs closed. You don't be out here fighting in these streets. You talk like a lady. You eat like a lady. You do this like a lady. And what did it get me? Huh? What did it get me? Rage. And nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the good girl who grows up and she turns 40 and she looks around and she's like, what the fuck did I do wrong? I did everything that everybody asked me to do. I was a good girl. I went to school. I went to church. I wasn't sleeping around. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't smoking. I wasn't doing none of that shit. I was a good girl and it got me nowhere. So guess what? The good girl is dead. She's dead. That's enough. I said to myself, that's enough. It's time to bring the other girl out. Right? It's time to bring the other girl out. Because the good girl, and I love her to death, but she had to die. Because at the end of all of it, you become an adult and you look around and all you have is grief. That's all you got.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Girl Chat. Today I want us to unpack this topic of being the good child or a good girl and how it translates into ruining your adulting and how you can escape it and rebuild into your own identity. So share this video with everyone that you want to be involved in this, because I've added a few more people talking about the topic and I hope this helps somebody.
All right, let's talk about the hero, responsible child, or golden child. This is the parentified child. Sometimes they're the ones that are described as 9 going on 40, and the parents can sometimes relate to them as though they're peers at times, and then as a child at times, which can be confusing for them. They often get along better with adults than peers, and their whole purpose in this system is to say, how can I be doing anything wrong as a parent? Because look at this child. This is also the child that everyone else in the family is compared to. As an adult, this individual often struggles with making mistakes and really tie their worth and value to what they do and what they can offer to others. Because within that dysfunctional system, their worth and value was based on what they could give to the system. And they saw how others were treated that couldn't give the same things. I hope this helps.
The Good Kid Tax. Signs you were the good kid and what it cost you. Hi, I'm Chelsea. I'm a licensed therapist. Let's talk about it. 1. You became the easy kid, so no one had to worry about you. The problem is, nobody worried about you. 2. You learned to minimize your needs because having them became too much of a burden. 3. You're really great at taking care of everyone else, but really bad at allowing anyone to take care of you. 4. You say no and feel guilty about it for the rest of the day. 5. You confuse being low maintenance with being healthy. 6. And this one's a big one. You're still waiting for someone to notice you're struggling without having to say it out loud. Being the good kid might have kept the peace, but it cost you the space to actually be one.
Hey BB, I heard that you feel guilty for resenting your mom. Well, let me tell you something about guilt. That guilt did not come from nowhere. You were taught that loving her meant loving her at any cost to you. And that's what made you a good daughter or not. So feeling anger and resentment towards your mom instantly alerts your body that you're doing something wrong. But one thing I've learned is that resentment is often just grief that has nowhere to go. And it feels so hard to carry it alone. So this is your invitation into our community of women who are ready to walk with you in your grief and your grounding and your growing and witness you and be witnessed by you. There's a link in my bio for you to get on the list, and we open the first week of May.
Sometimes decentering your mom means allowing her to drown in her own drama instead of dragging you under. If you were anything like me and you were raised by an emotionally unstable mother, you already know that she made every single thing your emergency. If she was mad, it was your emergency. If she was happy, then you had to toe the line to make sure you didn't do anything to mess it up. Studies show that people who have been raised in environments like this wind up hyper-vigilant, hyper-aware, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And this carries with you into romantic relationships, the way you raise your children, the way you show up at work. It's all over you because it's in you. The one thing I had to do is stop rushing to her aid. I am not fucking FEMA. I am not FEMA. It's not my job to clean up your natural disasters, and most of them you made. One thing about a narcissistic mother is they expect their daughters to be their cleanup men. Anytime something happens with them, they expect you to come running with a mop and a bucket. If their finances are not right, they are leaning on you. If they need somebody to talk to, they're leaning on you. And this has happened since we were children. The only way to get out of this and reset your nervous system is to recalibrate from jumping every time she has an emergency. Get over the guilt of, I'm not taking care of my mom. She's your mother. She was supposed to have taken care of you. Did she? Crickets. She didn't. Okay, so now we have to worry about ourselves.
Did your parents raise you to be a good kid, or did they raise you to be a winner? Obviously, the implication of that question is that being raised to be a good kid, a good person, does not necessarily make you a winner in life. And I want to clarify how I'm using the word good in this metaphor. I don't necessarily mean good as in altruistic, selfless. I mean well perceived. The pressure to be well perceived and agreeable is how you get report cards like a joy to have in class. That means you don't make problems for other people. Doesn't mean you get great grades or that you even solve problems for other people. You just don't make more. From the adult lens, that's like the worst thing you can be, right? Kind of passive, blah. So with that definition in mind, that being a good kid doesn't necessarily mean you're like a good person, we can then state that being a winner doesn't make someone a bad person, right? This commenter asked, what does it take to raise winners? I'll try to answer that as someone who is raised to be a good kid. What it takes to raise a good kid is to teach your child to invalidate their own feelings. That as long as things look good on the outside, everything will be okay. What that does is it makes the kid outsource their decision-making system to external factors. What their teachers think of them, what their friends think of them, what their friends' parents think of them, and then in adulthood, what their partners think of them, what their professors, what their bosses think of them. Even still, what their parents well into adulthood think about them and their life choices. On the contrast, kids who were raised to be winners, true winners, not pig-headed, asshole, stubborn kids, who learned how to be empathetic from emotionally mature parents. And I know that sounds counterintuitive because we conflate high achievement with selfishness. It takes a hell of a lot of self-awareness, emotional maturity, and self-worth to choose your feelings over someone else's. Like, selfish people aren't even in this discussion because they have no problem. They don't see other people's feelings. So in my opinion, what all the people who are raised to be a good kid, I think it's most of us, were missing in order to have been raised as a winner were emotionally mature parents who provided a safe space for us to express our feelings and to validate our feelings and our needs and our wants, to take vague abstract desires and make them a real actionable goal, and then working together to come up with a tactical plan to achieve that goal, and then work through all the feelings and issues that arise. One of the most important of which is when it's down to the line and you have to choose between yourself and someone's feelings or something that you really want and your own feelings. How are you going to choose that? It's a whole paradigm shift that I think really hinges on the emotional maturity of the parent. I think, my dear, just because you're asking this question, you're already raising winners.
It's funny because now that I'm older, I realize that being the obedient child
didn't really pay off, at least for y'all. But being the other kid, you know, the bad kid, quote unquote, that one was a lot more fun, and it developed into like life skills. Let me show you. Okay, so there's 3 of us. There's the other 2. That's mom and dad. I'm not even gonna hold y'all. Growing up, I got enough trouble for the 3 of us. I'm talking, there was a fight every week. My mom knew every principal by the first name. And I was crazy enough to talk back to my parents and any other adult. Getting in trouble every day, you kind of get used to disappointing people. It just comes with the job. Now, if I stayed the kid version of myself, I'd probably be a menace to society, but not all those skills was lost. For starters, I learned how to stand up for myself from an early age. I'm not ducking conflict. I also learned how to communicate, which most adults don't seem to know how to do. What is that about?
I had to interrupt just a little because, as a self proclaimed good girl, and obviously a woman, I was a little triggered seeing that man with all his hair because people don't even bat an eye when men do that. But women are expected to be hairless to the toe.
Okay, so boom. This tweet reads, being a good child was termed as being mature. We were praised for not having big feelings, not making messes, not making noise. The thing is, kids really need to make messes and make noise sometimes. It's just their process. Good kids often turn into anxious adults. The recording button is blocking this, so I can't read it, but go ahead and pause and do your thing.
If you couldn't see, it says, if you had to live the good child narrative throughout your childhood, permit yourself to find your voice once more. You deserve to be heard, and it's okay to speak up for yourself.
I will never forget the day that as a child, I promised myself that I would stop crying. Can you imagine at 10 years old making that choice? I'm the first daughter of Nigerian immigrants, and it was shoved down my throat that I needed to set an example for my sisters and my cousins. So I tried to not fuss about anything. I tried to always clean up, was always so anxious about making sure things were clean so that my parents wouldn't get on my ass if things weren't. And now I'm an adult who is learning to speak my boundaries, who is learning to speak my desires and just be vocal with all my emotions. It's a process. But
being the good daughter wrecks your nervous system. If you were the good child growing up, the one who never talked back, never had needs, always smiled, always complied, that's not emotional maturity. That's a fawn response. It's a trauma survival mode where your nervous system makes you overcompensate so you can feel safe. So your body chooses to people please over fight or flight. And now you can't say no. You overcommit. You feel resentment, but still say, it's fine. You weren't raised to express yourself. You were raised to suppress. Healing means to rewire your nervous system so you feel safe enough to be honest. And in the Energy Doc program, I teach that. If you can relate, DM me for a consult.
The price I paid to be the good kid. The kid nobody ever needed to worry about. I never tested boundaries, I never acted out, and I never burdened anybody with my feelings or needs. I spent the first 29 years of my life bottling and suppressing all of my feelings and needs, struggling with perfectionism and people-pleasing and needing to control everything. I walked on eggshells and I anxiously watched everybody's moods like a hawk. I had a crippling fear of disappointing anybody or making anybody mad. If anybody seemed off or quiet, I would go right into, are you mad at me? I was completely incapable of saying no or setting any boundaries without going into fight flight and feeling so guilty, almost like I was betraying that person by saying no. A really messed up relationship with food. And I apologized all the time for everything like this. I'm sorry. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh God, are you mad at me? I feel so bad. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm the worst. I avoided conflict because I was so afraid of people leaving me. The fear of abandonment was really strong. Now I'm a good kid in recovery, 17 years of trauma therapy and counting, 3 autoimmune diseases and counting, and I'm a trauma therapist, and this is my area of expertise. And I need you to hear me when I say good kids suffer in silence. They are not okay. They're taking one for the team. They're pretending they're fine, but they're not fine.
Never be a good child in your family. Aye. In many families, a good child is defined as one who sacrifices their dreams, one who carries the entire family, and one who never says no. That's not a good child. That is a financial hostage with good manners. Shida ni ile. Huwezi elewa. Huwezi.
The pipeline between being the child that no one had to worry about to becoming an adult that no one ever hears from really needs to be talked about a little bit more. I think that as an adult, I'm like overly independent now, and I really fucking suck at communicating with not only my family, but also my friends, because in my head, I've already been conditioned that everyone knows that I'm okay, I'm fine. No one has to check in on me because they know that I'm gonna handle it, I'm fine. Even when I'm not fine, it's nearly impossible for me to just reach out and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, I need help with X, Y, and Z, because growing up, it was always just assumed that she's going to be able to handle herself. She got it. She understands. So I think that now as an adult, it's impossible for me to even depend on anyone because I was just conditioned that I'm going to be all right regardless. Like, I don't need nobody else. And in a sense, I think that's a little bit neglectful.
If there's anything I learned from working with children is that victims are raised. They're not created by abusers. They are quite literally raised. When you do not ever allow your child to say no, when you do not ever allow them to make a decision for their own life, when you do not ever allow them to talk back, when you do not ever allow their perspective or their opinion on anything to count for a damn thing, you are raising a victim. It is a developmental milestone for your child out of nowhere to question you, to question your motives, to question what you're telling them to do. Oh, you told me to do X, Y, Z. Oh, why should I do this? Y'all want to make things so easy for y'all in the household that you don't realize that you're raising somebody who's going to have to walk out into the world, and the first person who throws a command or a demand at them, especially if you enforce that through corporal punishment, their no's feel like sins to them. And you raised a victim. You're raising somebody who's likely to get bullied by the first loudmouth person that comes across them. Y'all raise victims when you raise your children for the house. Remember, they're going to step out into the world and experience the world without you.
If you were the easy kid that never caused problems, you weren't easy, you were invisible. You learned early that asking for help meant disappointment, so you just stopped asking. And while your house was chaotic growing up, you learned to quietly take care of yourself. You were the shy one, the quiet one, always daydreaming off on your own or in your room. Your parents rarely checked in, never asked about school or your friends, or asked what you were interested in. And I mean what you were interested in, not what they projected you participated in. You got rewarded for being good, which really just meant don't cause problems, don't be seen, don't be heard, don't take up too much space. You likely escaped into TV shows or books or some kind of fantasy world where you felt like the main character. Now, as an adult, you have a hard time expressing your needs. You're very likely a people pleaser who betrays yourself to keep others comfortable. And when things get stressful, you withdraw or hide, opting to stay home or choose isolation because that feels safer than letting people in or being vulnerable. You end up in relationships where you disappear again, making your needs way less important than the other person's. It's also likely been a struggle to say what you mean and stand up for yourself, or hold your ground, or simply tell someone, I don't like that, or I don't want to do that, because somewhere deep down you still believe, as long as no one notices me, I won't get hurt. If this is you, your needs always mattered. You just weren't taught that they did because you were the invisible child. It's okay, I was too. And then I became the black sheep. We'll talk about that, how you can jump around to the different types of family roles. But for now, here's Cat. Meow.
Were you the invisible child, DJ? Your mom probably left you in an alley, which is why you live with me now.
You feel invisible with me? Do you feel like I take an interest in your passions and your interests? Can you stop bringing dead mice into the house? But also, I don't want to hinder your creativity.
There's this interesting phenomenon that occurs with really productive kids. So if you're a kid or an adult that happens to be on their A game, really smart, really productive, what you'll find is that if you have a brother or sister that is lesser than you in the production category, then all of their attention will be focused on them while you're left out in the sun. And I think that this is something that can be a little bit frustrating because from your perspective, and this is something I've experienced in some way, shape, or form, is that I'm doing everything right. At least on textbook, I'm doing everything right. And what is my reward? I'm being ignored. And I think like a lot of parents, they pursue this triage method of tending to the I guess the most worried kid, or the kid that's not performing well. But in the same breath, it serves as a little bit of a detriment to you who's doing the right thing. And it's almost a little confusing when you think about it, because if you have a tree that is blossoming and blooming, then it likely would make the most sense to allocate the most water, especially when you're looking for overall return and harvest. But that's not the way things work, and that's not how parents typically work. So this is what I would suggest. I want you to learn how to clap for yourself. And this is a theme that I've been bringing up a lot in my recent videos, because I do think it is important. When you feel comfortable with your production, and when you're happy with the way that things are going, I need you to scream and yell and really be ecstatic for yourself, because no one will clap as loudly for you than you. And that's the truth. And I think that that's sort of an important idea that you need to learn and accept, especially as you blossom into an adult. So don't get too beat up about it. And of course, I hope this helps.
Being the good kid makes you grow up to be such an angry adult. And here's why. So, as someone who was a good kid, I followed the path paved for me through elementary, middle, high school. I was obedient, stayed in my lane, made to feel small, molded into people's expectations of me, was a people pleaser, didn't want to disappoint anyone. But then I feel like I didn't get anything in return. I feel as if I wasn't rewarded. And also, when you're being molded into what people want you to be, you're not authentically being yourself. And so that also does build resentment. And that emotional repression and repression of who you are makes you very sick, because repressing your emotions is like avoidance, and you just keep it, you let it pile inside. It made me into such an angry adult, because I see people who weren't the good kids, I see the bad kids essentially, not following the path paved for them, and they are doing so great because of that. They spoke up for what they wanted, they did what they wanted, fuck everyone else, fuck what anyone thinks. And that's something I strive for. I was told that being good would lead to a good, happy, successful life, when in reality that's not the case. The good kids were scammed, sold a lie.
I don't know who needs to hear this today, but it's a beautiful day to disappoint your parents. I mean, they've disappointed you too. You can start with some weaponized incompetence and some little bits of laziness here and there. Yeah, I'm seated here in my room. My two brothers are being dragged to church because today is the last Sunday they're going to be free. So wanafaa waende waombewe. I can't relate.
The good child trauma that no one's talk about. As a growing up, we often being told, be good, be quiet, don't ask a question, don't speak in front of elder in the schools. If you are study hard, you tag as a good student. When we don't ask, when we don't say no, just keep doing the work for them, and we just becoming good people. And we start refusing, or we questioning something, or we querying something, and then become a naughty person. What it does, we start stressing ourselves, overthinking, and we never express our feeling to anybody, and we become depressed, and we exhausting inside, we burn out inside. Why? Because we carrying so much inside. And do is Right now we heal our trauma, we learn let to go, and we learn how to forgive ourselves and others. Feeling stress, anxiety, and you're not able to say anything or express your feeling to your family or your loved one, DM me. I'm here to help you.
Motsadi o se ka ba wa dira phoso ya go akanya gore ngwana ga go o sa go tsenyeng dingalo ga ana mathata. Ke ne ke le ngwana o ntseng jalo o maitseo o itirimaletseng o ratang mongwe le mongwe o ratiwang ke mongwe le mongwe o pasang ko sekolong. Mme ke godile le gore I was suffering from anxiety and depression. Mme go sena la hele ope o itseng ga ke re ope ke ra ope go tswa go simolola go nna mathata hela ke setse ke tsena ko university le gore jaanong go raya gore tiro e ntsi jaanong pressure e ntsi go raya gore trigger left right and center and then can shut down. Ke be ke ipolela gore nya mme go goleng ga me ke nna motsadi ga nka ka dira phoso e ntseng jalo. O itse botshelo bo ntikolositse hela yana ba ntathela gone ha ne ke re ga nke ikateng. Botshelo ke le botwana jaaka motswana bo a dikologa jaanong go mo go kara dilo tse dintsintsi mme mo sekaeng sa gompieno bo ntikolositse hela yana. I came full circle to exactly where I said I will never be. Ke ithela jaana e le gore ne ke tlotla le ngwanake wa Leitibolo hela andhare ene o ikutlwa gore ga se ngwana o botlhale ga a belwa go na le ba leng gore ba botlhale ba nna ba le ko godimo hela madu a bona ko godimo ditsela tsa gagwe ebile wa ba gola mme ene o ikutlwa re ke ngwana o siameng hela ebile ga go mo tshwenye ka gore madu a gagwe ga nke a wela ko tlase mo e leng gore go a tshwenya. Ka lemoga gore ke dirile sone se ne ke rile ga nkitla ke se dira ka gore ke na le bana ba bannye mo go ene ba e leng gore ke bana ba tlhokanang le thuso. Gantsi ke ba sala morago ka go dira tiro ya sekolo, ka go tlhapa, ka go tla ka sengwe le sengwe. Ene ke sale ke mo rutile wa Leitibolo wa itirisa homework o nna hatsi wa dira o setse a itse go itlhokomela, o setse a itse go itirisa dilo. Ke be ke re nya go gare ga gona mathata ke godisitse a ke ra nya ke godisitse go ga wa wina di-medal wa reng sengwe le sengwe mme e rile go mo teng a ibuisa jaaka na a ibuisa yana gore o ipona e le motho o seng botlhale, o ipona e le mongwe wa batho ba e leng gore ga ba abelwa. Go nkutlwisitse botlhoko ka lemoga gore ngwana o ntse ke sa mmaya leitlho, go raya gore o ikamogetse hela mme wa amogetse a version of herself e leng gore ga se nnete. Ka mora ke re nna ke tla go simolola go thusa go ipaakanyetsa diteko tsa go sekolong. Go na le some skills you need to learn, study skills nahati o rulaganya nako ya gago, go nne le nako ya go dira homework, go nne le nako ya go ikgakolla so se rutileng ko sekolong. Ke o ithute go kwala di-notes le go di bala le go di organize ka tsela e leng gore tlhaloganya ya gago e tla di gakologelwa. Botlhale ga se so se e leng gore sa abelwa hela, o kgona go se ithuta, o kgona go ithuta dilo wa bo o di itse hela sentle jaaka motho o a bitseng. Mme ebile go ithuta dilo tse go a go thusa go a go ile mo botshelong ba gago. Ga o tsena ko dikolong tse di kgolwane ga tiro ya go ntse o oketsega ebile nna thata le go heta o te bona le kitso ya gore o ithuta jang go dira tiro tse di thata. Nya mme a nkutlwa nthetsa a simolola go nna hatshe ka simolola go mmaya leitlho ke mmotsa gore gompieno o ithutileng go tsamaile jang, ithute seo se sešwa seo se ithutileng gompieno ka gore ka itse gore ga o ruta motho seo se ithutileng tlhaloganya ya gago e se ba botoka, o se gakologela botoka, o se itse botoka. A simolola hela a nna ikatisa ka go nthuta kana a kwala di-notes, a kwala sa se ithutileng from memory, right? A be a simolola hela lo a gone go nna botoka, a simolola go pasa hela sentle. Go pasang ga gagwe ga be go mo lemotsha gore le nna ke botlhale ke na le bokgoni hela jaaka ngwana mongwe le mongwe. Mme go mo go nthusitse mo e leng gore ke bona gore bo itse gore botshelo o se ka botsa motho a modimo gore ne ke ipoleletse gore ga nke ka nna motsadi yo tla relaxang hela ka gore ngwana o siame o didimetse gantseng dingalo ke sa lemoge gore ngwana go na le dilo tse e leng gore o struggle ka tsone jaanong go mo go nthutile gore ke simolola go ikatametse ngwanake yo o sa tsenyeng dingalo motsadi sa wele mo lemeleng le ke ratileng go wela ka lone.
You were parentified. They were training you to take care of them when they were older. That's why you were taking care of all your siblings. That's why you were pushed to go study nursing. They want you to benefit them. They don't want success for you. They don't care.
Next on our adaptation list, the daughter who became her own mother. Some daughters learn very early that nobody's coming. And it's not necessarily because they were blatantly abandoned or blatantly not loved. It's because emotionally and practically and relationally, they learned that, okay, if I need comfort, I have to comfort myself. If I need encouragement, I gotta encourage myself. If I need protection, I need to protect myself. If I need reassurance, well, I gotta be the one to give it to me. So over time, the daughter becomes her own fucking cheerleader, comfort, her own protector, her own parent. And whilst that sounds empowering, and like in some ways it is, that's not always what it is. These women are often resilient, capable, resourceful, independent, emotionally intelligent, competent. People admire them. People can rely on them. People assume that they are fine. But underneath is often a profound loneliness. Because being able to take care of yourself is different than being cared for. And that's the wound, guys. It's not, oh, I can't take care of myself. It's, I have been taking care of myself all my life. So in adulthood, that can look like difficulty receiving support or care, difficulty trusting support, feeling disappointed when people don't show up, being secretly jealous of other people who are cared for, hyper independence, exhaustion, over-functioning, struggling to lean on other people. And the angst in all of this is that these women are very much wanting to lean on someone. They desperately want support. They just don't trust it. Because their nervous system learned that they have to do it themselves. Depend on yourself. That's the safest bet. So they try to help other people. So you're often going to hear things from them like, it's okay, I got it. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. Even when they are not. Honestly, one of the deepest wounds is not that nobody came. It's that they stopped ever wishing, thinking, hoping, expecting anyone to come. So the daughter that became her own mother grows up to be the person that cares for everyone else's needs except for her own. She can take care of everybody else, but not herself. Okay, bye.
I learned from a therapist once that if you get raised by emotionally immature parents, you get treated like an adult when it's convenient for them, but you get treated like a child when you go against what they want. Mind blown.
If you grew up with parents that didn't praise you for your accomplishments, but then would brag and talk about it to friends in public, what they're doing is they are completely seeing you as an extension of themselves. They are not acknowledging your actions, your tactics, your follow-through of how you achieved that accomplishment, your actions, you as a person. They completely bypass you and go straight to the accomplishment and grab it as their own. They are completely seeing you as an extension of themselves. And as a daughter of a covert narcissistic mother, that is exactly what I dealt with every single time. I have never heard a word of praise from her for any of my achievements, but I have heard her talk about it to others, not mentioning too much about me. And that is completely seeing me as an extension of her. She doesn't see me. She sees me as the middleman, and she just goes right in and grabs the accomplishment that I did. And that's what's happening. If they're not praising you in private, but talking about it in public, they're not seeing you. They're seeing the accomplishment as their own.
You know what people don't talk about? How hard it is to chase your dreams when your own household is the thing that's holding you back. Because when the environment you live in drains you, you don't just lose motivation. You lose discipline, consistency, and the energy you need to even show up for yourself. And that's the thing. People love saying just be disciplined, just focus, just work harder. But they don't see what your environment is doing to you. When your house is full of stress, shouting, pressure, or confusion, you lose more than they think. You lose self-esteem because every little thing you do gets judged. You lose confidence in your own decisions because you've never been allowed to trust yourself. You lose emotional safety because you're always walking around like something is gonna happen, something wrong is gonna happen. You lose creativity because your mind is too busy surviving instead of imagining. You lose rest because even when you're home, you're never at peace, mentally at peace. And the worst one, you lose the courage to dream big because you're scared they will crush it before it even starts. Sometimes you're not misunderstood, you're just unprotected. And yeah, your parents might love you, but their love doesn't always show up in the way your dreams needs. So you have to learn to think for yourself. Put yourself first sometimes. Stand up for yourself, even when you're wrong. Stand for yourself. Because the worst thing you can do is make yourself look like a villain when you are the victim. Your dreams needs protection, and if no one is giving you that, you give it to yourself.
Please go down in the comments and let me know your thoughts on this topic. One thing that has been going on through my mind since before even researching this topic is that parents who parentify their kids early and use them as emotional crutches or whatever other uses, they have this same statement that they use just like predators, which is, you're so mature for your age. And it rings so true to what that lady said about victims are created. They mold you little by little into the perfect victim. And this is why we have these kinds of conversations, so that if you have grown up one way, then you can know how to change, adjust, because what took you through childhood is not going to be enough for adulting. And before we can start having conversations about disinterring men and men having children, we need to unpack who we have grown up as. There's a lot of loss of identity in who you are because you've been molded into people's expectations of you, and you're not really an authentic person. Like, yes, you're just not true to yourself. If you stopped masking, if you stopped pretending to be one version of yourself, it makes you very angry to not know who you are. So before we become hurt people who hurt people, I think it's good we share this topic with our friends. Just have a conversation about it and just work on yourself. Sorry, I was going to say that nobody's coming to help, but I did see this quote recently that says, everybody's trying to save you through such videos. All those people who have contributed, I hope they save somebody. Now, I'm gonna leave you with a video from one of the ladies I've quoted before, with blue spectacles. And you can also go and check out these creators' pages. I have linked them so that you can see how more they're going to expound on the topic and what other information they may have, because they're so much more well articulated than I could dream of being. So enjoy. Please subscribe.
If you grew up as the good kid, the one nobody ever needed to worry about, there's some things that you've needed to hear your entire life. I'm going to say them to you now. I'm a good kid in recovery, and I'm also a trauma therapist now. I was a burned out, overachieving, people-pleasing, perfectionist pushover and shape-shifting chameleon for most of my life, and I teach you how to heal yourself and how to break these cycles for your kids. All right, we ready? Let's go. You are not a burden. You're not a burden. It is a privilege and an honor for people to take care of you when you're struggling. You don't have to earn love, by being good and accomplishing and performing and pleasing and doing everything perfectly. You are not hard to love. You're not. You're easy to love. It's a privilege and an honor and a delight to get to love you. It's okay to not be okay. You don't have to hold it together all the time and pretend you're fine and suppress all of your feelings. It's okay to not be okay. There's nothing wrong with you. I'm going to say that last one more time. I know you feel like deep down there's something wrong with you, but there's nothing wrong with you. Who you are deep down inside, there's nothing wrong with you. There isn't.